Innovation versus regulation. I think they are not mutually exclusive, right? I think we agree that. And yesterday, if I can combine the two questions together, I met with representatives, international and European, of the cultural and artistic sector, and they were the ones telling me how important the AI Act and its adoption by us is for them. In this world where generative AI is not, let's say, is moving away from a copyright perspective of identifying tunes, lyrics, what is written, what is sung. And therefore the right holders are losing out. They have a prediction of around 28% in the next few years in terms of income for what essentially is their creation, where in Europe we are still incredibly competitive. So, when compared to other continents. So there, I think we will need to work very hard. It's no longer about regulation, but it is in the final draft of what we call the Code of Conduct of the AI Act, which will essentially implement or put down in writing how it will be implemented. We tend, to have gaps between what we decide on a political level and how we implement. We have situations where in some countries you have gold plating, as it's called. In other words, the rules that are implemented on a national level are more complicated than the ones we would have adopted here, which of course makes it very easy for everyone to blame Europe when in fact it would not be, or the opposite. In other words, there will be dilution of the original legislator's intention, which is not something we can afford here. So I would always argue for a pragmatic approach where we see if regulation is needed, we go ahead. Parliament is always incredibly keen. We need to keep an eye. We need to make sure we don't go too far, but we need to make sure that if there is a gap, we fill it. If we don't fill it, it will be filled by someone else. And secondly, that we do not stifle innovation in doing so. Have we always managed that balance? No. Clear. But can we now recognize that the next 5 years will be a big test for us in this regard? Yes. If you compare, I said this also in Madrid a few months ago, if you compare the last mandate in the same period between the European Parliament and the US Congress, we negotiated and adopted 13,000 pages of legislation. The US Congress did 5,000. So we need to also see from a competitive perspective whether we are reaching our goal and how we're going to reach it, of course, by continuing to be proud and visionary, if I can say, and creative and plug the holes and gaps that we are being asked to plug. There are also things we can do that don't even need regulation. So we have triplication of rules, we have standards that are incomprehensible, that it is impossible to implement. I mean, we have people who tell us, look, I'm told this by Brussels, and then I'm told 27 different things by the member states. It's impossible to work like that. So that does not require new regulation. It requires an implementation that is pragmatic, that is common sense, that we can actually show that we are listening.
Thank you very much.